Okay, so you want to learn a new language, and you want to do it efficiently.
Right. No one wants to waste time.
Not at all.
So we've got research.
We've got tips from people who actually speak multiple languages.
Polyglots.
Yeah, the polyglots.
Those guys are awesome.
And some really interesting insights into how we learn, like how brains learn.
Yeah, this is way more than just memorizing a bunch of vocab.
Right.
It's like understanding how your brain actually absorbs a language.
Yeah.
And that's how you get efficient.
And we're going to get into some really cool stuff.
We are. Spaced repetition, for example.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that. Spaced repetition.
The 80-20 rule.
Just storytelling.
And honestly, the biggest thing that we see is that the more you use the language,
Yeah.
the better you learn it.
Okay, so let's start with this 80-20 rule.
Sure.
Now, I've heard of this, but I'm not really sure I understand how it applies to language learning.
Well, generally the Pareto principle.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It states that like 80% of effects come from 20% of causes.
Okay.
So when you apply that to languages, it basically means that a small number of words
Okay.
actually make up the vast majority of what you're going to use day to day.
So instead of trying to memorize like the entire dictionary,
Right.
we just focus on the words that we use the most.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised by how much you can actually understand and communicate.
Oh, wow.
Just by knowing, research suggests like 2,000 of the most frequently used words.
Okay.
You can really build a very strong foundation.
That makes it seem a lot less scary, actually.
Right.
Yeah, a lot less daunting.
Less daunting.
Okay. Now, you mentioned spaced repetition.
Yes.
I've heard of that,
I love that one.
but I don't really know what it is.
It's a game changer. It's backed by science.
Okay.
It's the idea that we learn best when we actually space out the times that we revisit material.
So it's not like cramming for a test.
No. Cramming, that might work if you have a test tomorrow and you just need to like regurgitate information.
Yeah.
But if you're talking long-term retention,
Wow.
that's not the way to go. So think about it this way. If you learn a new word today,
Uh-huh.
you write it down, you look at it,
Yeah.
you don't see it again for a week, you're probably going to forget it, right?
Yeah.
But with spaced repetition, you review it tomorrow, then 2 days later, then a week later.
So we're kind of tricking our brains
Yeah, you're kind of gaming the system a little bit.
into thinking this information is important.
Exactly, because you're seeing it over and over again.
Yeah.
And each time you see it, that memory gets stronger.
Okay.
And the intervals between those reviews get longer.
Cool. So it's not just like mindless repetition.
Right. It's strategic.
It's like spaced out.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so effective.
Okay. So we tackled 80-20.
Yep.
Space repetition.
Uh-huh.
What else should we be doing?
Well, here's something that might sound counterintuitive. Okay.
Ditch the grammar drills.
Really?
Yeah.
Isn't grammar important?
Grammar is important, but
Yeah.
the way it's traditionally taught with all the memorization and drills,
Yeah.
it can be really boring and inefficient.
Okay. So how do we learn grammar then?
We learn it by using it.
Okay.
So instead of sitting there and trying to memorize all these rules,
Okay.
we need to actually be using the language.
Yeah.
We need to communicate, express ourselves.
Learn by doing, basically.
Exactly.
Okay.
Think about learning to ride a bike.
Yeah.
You wouldn't just read the manual, right?
No. go ahead.
You'd get on the bike, you'd fall a few times, you'd figure it out.
Yeah, you'd get scraped up.
Language is the same way. You've got to just jump in and start using it.
Okay, but how do we do that if we're not fluent yet?
Lots of ways.
Mm.
You can find a language exchange partner, have conversations,
Yeah.
even simple conversations. Watch movies or TV shows.
Maybe with subtitles at first. Try reading simple books or articles. Anything that gets you using the language actively,
Yeah.
even if it's just a few words at a time.
So anything that gets us talking.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. That takes the pressure off feeling like I need to be perfect.
Yeah. You don't have to be perfect.
Okay, good.
In fact, the more mistakes you make,
Yeah.
the more you're going to learn.
That's good.
Right.
Yeah, that is good.
Yeah.
Okay, you mentioned movies and TV.
Yes.
Everyone talks about immersion.
Immersion, yes.
But how do you actually do that if you're not living in a country where they speak that language?
You know, you don't have to pack your bags and move abroad to immerse yourself in a language.
Okay.
You can actually create a mini immersion environment right at home.
So how do you do that?
So think about all the ways that you interact with your own language.
Yep.
Every day, you listen to music,
Yep.
watch TV, read, scroll through social media,
Right.
talk to friends, family,
Pretty much everything.
pretty much everything.
Yeah.
And you can start incorporating your target language into all of those things.
Okay.
Change your phone settings to the target language.
Okay.
Start listening to podcasts or audiobooks in the target language.
Okay.
Watch movies and TV shows, maybe with subtitles at first.
So it's like turning everyday things into chances to learn.
Exactly. You're just surrounding yourself with the language as much as possible.
Okay.
And your brain will start to pick up on the sounds, the rhythms, even if you're not consciously focusing on them.
So it's like osmosis.
Kind of, yeah. It just starts seeping in.
Right, yeah.
And the more you do it, the more comfortable you'll become with that language.
And I guess the good thing is you can choose stuff that you actually like
Exactly.
music or movies or TV.
Make it fun.
Yeah.
If you love cooking, find recipes.
Okay.
If you like history, find documentaries about history in the target language.
Oh, that's good.
You know, the possibilities are really endless.
I like that. It's not just something you do in isolation. It's part of your life.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So we've talked 80-20, spaced repetition, ditching the grammar drills, immersion.
Yep.
What other things, what other active learning techniques can we use?
One that I think is really interesting and often gets overlooked is the power of physical action.
Really?
Okay.
Okay. Like what?
So incorporating movement, incorporating gestures into your learning can actually help
Okay.
to boost your memory, your comprehension.
So like if I'm learning the word for jump, I should jump up and down.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
It's about engaging more of your senses
Okay.
and creating a stronger connection in your brain between that word and what it means.
It's kind of like how little kids learn.
Absolutely, yeah.
Right.
They're always moving, they're interacting with their environment.
Yeah, there's like little sponges.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they're natural language learners, and they don't do it by sitting still, you know?
So we should all be channeling our inner child.
100%. Don't be afraid to be a little silly, to move around, to use your body.
Okay.
It'll make learning more engaging.
I like it. Okay, so what other active learning techniques can we use?
So another one is mnemonic devices.
Oh, yeah, I remember those from school.
Yeah,
For like history dates and stuff.
right, exactly.
But how does that work for language?
It works the same way. So it's basically creating a mental image or a story that helps you link to that word or phrase
Okay.
that you're trying to remember.
Okay.
And the weirder, the more vivid that image is,
Okay.
the more likely you are to remember it. So for example, if you're trying to learn the Spanish word for cat, which is gato,
Okay.
you could imagine a cat wearing a giant hat
Okay.
or a cat playing the guitar.
I like that. Okay.
Right. Anything that helps you connect.
Yeah.
Rhymes and songs can also be mnemonic devices,
Oh,
acronyms.
okay, so it's about finding what works for you.
Yeah, exactly. There's no right or wrong answer.
Okay.
It's whatever helps your brain make those connections.
Okay, this next one is kind of intimidating.
Okay.
Thinking in the target language.
Yes.
Is that even possible?
It is?
To like turn off the English and just think in Spanish?
It is, and it's actually key.
Okay.
It's a crucial step. If you want to achieve fluency,
Okay.
you need to be able to think in the target language.
But how do you even start doing that? Like my brain is hardwired for English.
Right, so it's a process.
Yeah.
It takes time, it takes practice.
Okay.
But you can start with small steps,
Okay.
really small steps.
Like what?
Start by labeling things around you
Okay.
in your target language.
Okay.
Instead of thinking table, think mesa. If you're learning Spanish,
Okay.
when you're making your to-do list, write it in the target language.
So finding little ways to just use it.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, okay.
And then you can start to challenge yourself.
Okay.
You can start having little internal monologues in your head.
In the target language?
In the target language.
Yeah.
Just describing your day, describing your thoughts, describing your feelings in that language.
So a mental workout.
It is.
Okay, so I'm labeling objects. I'm talking to myself in my head in the target language. What else?
You can start consuming content in your target language that doesn't require you to translate.
Okay, like what?
Music,
Yeah.
podcasts, audiobooks.
Okay.
And the key here is choosing content that you enjoy, that you can just passively listen to
Yeah.
without feeling like you need to translate every single word.
So just letting it wash over me.
Exactly.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
just exposing your brain to the language
Yeah.
in a natural, enjoyable way. And over time, your brain will start to make those connections.
So I'm training my ear.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the more you listen, the more familiar the language will become.
Okay, so I'm putting on some Spanish music right now.
There you go.
But before I do that, let's talk about something that I think is a big problem for a lot of people.
Okay.
The fear of making mistakes.
Yes, that's a huge one. Yeah. And it's so important to remember that mistakes are not failures.
No.
They're opportunities to learn.
Easier said than done. Right.
is...
It can be really embarrassing.
I know, but think about it this way. Every time you make a mistake,
Yeah.
you're getting feedback.
Okay.
You're getting feedback on what you need to work on.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
like having a personal language coach
Okay.
right there with you, pointing out the things that you need to improve.
So mistakes are good.
Mistakes are good.
Okay.
The more you make, the more you'll learn.
Okay, so I need to reframe how I think about mistakes.
Yes.
Okay.
See them as opportunities for growth.
Okay, good.
And the more comfortable you become with making those mistakes, the more confident you're going to be.
Okay, that's good. I like that.
Hmm.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground here. We talked about the science behind spaced repetition, physical action, mnemonic devices, thinking in the target language, and not being afraid of mistakes.
Yes.
That's a lot.
It is.
But before we move on to our last part here, I want to talk about technology.
Okay.
Because technology has really changed how we learn languages.
It has.
Right.
Yeah, it's revolutionized it.
There are so many apps, websites, resources.
Yeah.
It can be kind of overwhelming.
It can be.
Where do you even start?
So it is important to be selective
Okay.
and to choose resources that align with, how you learn, what your goals are, and what your budget is.
Right. Okay.
But technology can be really amazing for language learning.
What are some of the big benefits?
Personalization, I think, is a huge one.
Okay.
So a lot of these apps and websites, they offer these personalized learning paths
Okay.
that are tailored to your level, to your goals, to what you're interested in.
Okay.
So you're focusing on the areas where you need the most support.
So it's not like a textbook where everyone's doing the same thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's customized for you.
That's good.
And technology is also super interactive, which can make it a lot more fun to learn.
Because textbooks can be kind of boring.
They can be.
Yeah.
So a lot of these apps and websites, they use games,
Okay.
they use quizzes,
Okay.
all sorts of interactive exercises.
It's like gamifying language learning.
Exactly. And that can be really motivating.
Yeah, it can be. It also gives you access to stuff you wouldn't have otherwise.
Yeah, it gives you access to so much authentic content.
Okay.
You can watch movies.
Yeah.
You can watch TV shows.
Yeah,
You can listen to music and podcasts
Yeah, stuff in the actual
in
language.
the actual language. And that helps you to immerse yourself
Yeah, okay.
in the language and culture.
That was a lot harder to do before the internet.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Technology has just opened up so many possibilities.
So technology is good,
Technology is good.
but I guess we can't forget about actually talking to people.
Right. We can't forget about human interaction.
Yeah.
So while technology can be great for building that foundation, there's no substitute for actually communicating with native speakers.
So finding a language partner.
Yes.
Or like a group, a conversation group.
Exactly.
Right.
Or just, even chatting with locals if you're traveling.
Yeah.
That's how you're really going to develop that fluency and confidence,
Okay.
because it forces you to think on your feet.
Right. You're in the moment.
You're in the moment.
Yeah.
You're getting that real-time feedback.
And you can learn about the culture and stuff too.
Absolutely, yeah. You pick up on those little nuances that you wouldn't get from a textbook or an app.
Right. Right.
So it's really about finding that balance
Okay.
between the technology and the human connection.
Best of both worlds.
Best of both worlds. And let's not forget about another really important thing, motivation.
Oh, yeah. Motivation is huge.
Huge.
For anything.
For anything, but especially for language learning,
Yeah.
which can be tough.
Yeah. It can be really challenging and time consuming.
It can be.
So how do you stay motivated?
So one of the best things you can do is set realistic goals for yourself
Okay.
and celebrate those small wins along the way.
Okay.
Don't expect to be fluent overnight.
Right.
Break down your learning journey into smaller chunks
Okay.
and acknowledge every step forward.
So instead of saying, I want to be fluent in Spanish, I should say, I want to be able to order a coffee in Spanish.
Exactly.
Good.
That's a great goal,
Yeah.
or I want to have a basic conversation
Yeah.
with a native speaker.
Okay.
Those little wins will build momentum and they'll keep you going.
Okay.
And remember, it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah, yeah.
Enjoy the process. Don't get discouraged.
Okay.
And don't be afraid to try different methods and resources.
It's like they say, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
So every new word is a step.
It is.
And speaking of journeys, connecting language learning to something you're passionate about can really help.
Yes, absolutely.
So if you're learning Spanish to travel to South America,
right.
or you're learning Japanese to watch anime,
Yeah.
it makes it more meaningful.
Play more meaningful.
And it makes it more enjoyable.
Absolutely. And when you have that clear vision of why you're doing it, it's so much easier to stay motivated
Yeah.
when those challenges come up.
And finding a community of people
Yes,
that are learning the same language
100%.
can really help too.
It can.
So online or in person?
Yeah, sharing tips, encouraging each other,
Yeah.
maybe even complaining together,
Yeah, commiserating.
commiserating.
Yeah.
That can make a huge difference.
Okay, so we've talked about technology. We talked about the human connection.
Yeah.
We talked about staying motivated.
Yeah.
We've talked about a lot of different strategies.
We have.
But I want to talk about mindset before we wrap things up here.
Okay.
Because your mindset really impacts your success.
It's everything.
Yeah.
It's everything. So it's really about, having a positive attitude
Yeah.
and seeing challenges as opportunities to grow
Okay.
and believing in yourself, believing that you can achieve your language goals.
So it's more than just a can-do attitude.
It's deeper than that. It's a growth mindset.
Yeah.
It's the belief that your abilities are not fixed,
Okay.
that you can learn new things,
Okay.
you can improve.
So instead of thinking like, oh, I'm bad at languages, I should be thinking, I'm learning, I'm growing.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's a starting point.
Okay.
Your current level is a starting point.
Okay.
And it's about embracing those challenges,
Okay.
seeing them as opportunities to learn.
So when I mess up, that's a good thing.
It's a good thing.
Okay.
It's giving you information.
Okay.
It's showing you what you need to work on.
Okay. And remembering that it's a journey, not a destination.
Yes.
Right.
100%. There will be ups and downs.
Yeah.
There will be times when you feel stuck.
Yeah.
But if you have that growth mindset, you can get through those challenges.
You'll keep going.
You'll keep going.
Okay. So we've covered a lot here. We've explored how our brains learn. We've given some practical tips.
Uh-huh.
We've talked about the importance of mindset,
Yes.
motivation.
Yes.
But before we wrap up, I have one final question for you.
Okay.
We've talked a lot about how to learn, but what about what to learn?
And that's where I think a lot of language learners kind of go wrong.
Okay.
They get so focused on the mechanics of language,
Yeah.
the grammar rules, the vocabulary lists,
Right.
that they forget to ask themselves a really basic question.
What's that?
What do I want to be able to do with this language?
Oh, that's a good question.
Yeah,
It's like having all the ingredients, but no recipe.
exactly.
You could probably throw something together,
Right.
but it's not going to be good.
It's not going to be that amazing dish that you could have made
Right. Right.
if you had a plan.
So before we even start, we should think about our goals.
Yes, absolutely. Define your goals. What are your motivations? Why are you learning this language?
So it's not enough to just say, I want to be fluent.
Right.
Right.
Fluency can mean a lot of different things
Yeah, that's true.
to different people.
So do I want to travel?
Yeah. Do you want to be able to travel and have conversations with people?
Okay.
Do you want to be able to read books,
Uh-huh.
watch movies without subtitles?
Maybe I want to talk to my grandma
Yeah,
in Italian.
exactly.
Yeah.
Or advance your career.
Yeah. There's lots of different reasons.
So many different reasons.
Okay.
And the way you learn should really depend on your goals.
Okay.
If you're learning Spanish to travel to South America, that's going to look different than someone who's learning Spanish to do business.
Right.
Right.
If I'm traveling, I probably need to learn how to ask where the bathroom is.
Exactly.
Right. Or order food.
Yeah, you need those practical phrases.
Stop.
You need vocabulary for food, for transportation, for accommodation.
Right.
But if you're learning for business, you might need more formal language,
Yeah.
industry-specific terms,
Okay.
Things like that.
It's like tailoring it to the situation.
Exactly.
So how do I actually figure out what to learn?
Well, a lot of programs have assessments or questionnaires,
Okay.
that can help you kind of pinpoint your goals.
Okay.
But you can also just think about it yourself.
Okay.
Imagine yourself in those situations
Okay.
where you'd be using the language.
Right.
What kind of conversations would you be having?
Oh.
What words would you need to know?
It makes you visualize it.
Exactly.
Okay.
It makes it more real.
Yeah, that's good.
And then once you have that vision, then you can start to choose resources and activities
Yeah.
that are actually going to help you get there.
So if I want to talk to people, I should find people to talk to.
Exactly. Find a language partner.
Okay.
Join a conversation group. If you want to read, focus on expanding your vocabulary, your grammar.
Working smarter, not harder.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, I like that.
Aligning your efforts with your goals.
And I guess your goals might change too as you go.
They might, they probably will.
Okay.
And that's okay. You revisit your goals periodically.
Okay.
You make adjustments. Language learning is a journey. It's constantly evolving.
This has been awesome. We covered so much. We talked about the science of how our brains learn. We've given some really practical tips.
We have.
Talked about mindset, motivation,
Yeah.
really important stuff.
Really important stuff.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener?
It means you have the power to choose.
Okay.
You have the power to choose how you learn best.
Okay.
It's not about finding one perfect method.
Okay.
It's about understanding how you learn,
Uh-huh.
what your goals are,
Yeah.
and tailoring your approach to fit your own individual needs.
Awesome.
So enjoy the journey. Celebrate the little victories.
Okay.
And remember, learning a new language, it's a gift.
Yeah.
It's a gift that opens up doors to new cultures, new perspectives, new ways of seeing the world.
A whole new world.
A whole new world.
I like it. And on that note, we'll wrap up this deep dive. Happy learning, everyone.